Good morning, everybody. My name is Leandro Aolita. I am the Chief Researcher of the Quantum Research Center at the Technology Innovation Institute in Abu Dhabi. That's the United Arab Emirates. And this is the closing session of the quantum track. This is the first year that the AI for Good event has a quantum track dedicated to the UNESCO in the honor of the UNESCO Year of Quantum. And I'm going to tell you a little bit of what we're doing to shape the future of quantum, both research, industry, and business, and what's next, right? Let me walk you through. I would like to start with a recap on human history, on how things have been in human innovation, in technology innovation, and the connection to science and physics. So let me take you back to the Industrial Revolution 2.5 centuries ago. And this was propelled by inventions like the steam engine, for instance, right, that mechanized entire industries and made everything much more efficient. And this was made possible by discoveries in physics, by breakthroughs in science, right? So things like, of course, thermodynamics and even classical mechanics, fluid dynamics, and at a later stage of the Industrial Revolution, also by electromagnetism. Then, if we fast forward one and a half century, then we move to the first quantum technology revolution. This was marked by inventions like the transistor, the laser, or atomic clocks, and these again were possible by discoveries in physics. In fact, they were made possible by the largest conceptual scientific revolution of human history, which was the discovery or the invention, depending on how you think of science, of quantum theory. Right. The understanding that was required to make transistors or lasers just was possible due to understanding how matter and light works at the quantum level, right? And this came from the revolution of thought known by quantum theory in the beginning of the 20th century, right? Now, where am I going with this? The first quantum revolution, and in particular the transistors, were, again, in turn, what made possible the digital revolution, right? That started in the 70s and 80s with the transition from analog to digital systems, with the availability, mass availability of microprocessors, and then later on internet, cloud computing, and continuing to these days with AI, with Internet of Things, and automation, right? So now, what is happening is that we're at the cusp of the second quantum technology revolution. This is marked by three main applications, and you may have heard of quantum computation, quantum communications, and sensing. And the difference is now these are technologies that require not just understanding how matter and light behaves at a microscopic scale, where quantum effects become evident, but also it requires the ability to experimentally control single atoms and single particles of light at an unprecedented experimental level. And this is something that has started 25 years ago, 25 years ago, but it's still unfolding, right? Quantum computers will be, quantum computation defined like a new model of computation, much more efficient and also energy efficient too. There are many problems that these machines will enable, and I'll come back to some applications. Quantum communications, they allow for encryption schemes whose security is guaranteed by the very laws of physics. And then you have quantum sensing, where you have ultra-precise sensors for gravity, for forces, for magnetic fields, and even temperature that will have impact on a variety of industries. These figures that I show here, except for the central one, which is a diagrammatic representation, these figures are actual photos taken in our Abu Dhabi lab facilities. Right now, I'll come to these details. So let me focus a little bit on what quantum computing is. It's the largest application of quantum technologies, and what is expected is that in the beginning, we will be able to attack with quantum simulations, we'll be able to simulate complex molecules or crystalline structures that will have impact in material science, pharmaceutics, and chemistry. For instance, we might be able to gain understanding that helps us develop high-temperature superconductors or more efficient solar panels, right? At the same time, understanding nitrogen fixation. This is nowadays this is relevant for fertilizers, for ammonia, and this is done nowadays with a Hubbard process. That's an industrial process that is extremely energy intensive and inefficient. And if we would understand how nitrogen fixation works with quantum simulations, we could develop more efficient schemes for that. Same thing with drug discoveries and catalysts and other applications of chemistry. At a later stage, we will have digital quantum computations for engineering and heavy industry, right? There's lots of work towards computational fluid dynamics and complex dynamical systems. We will be able to solve very large systems of equations, and this has, again, many applications in industry, and of course, interesting things like oil reservoir simulations. And then, yes, so everybody talks about quantum AI and combinatorial optimizations. Quantum computers will have an impact on generative machine learning. There are models of generative machine learning architectures that use quantum circuits already, data augmentation and anomaly detection, and optimizations of all kinds, right? Like reducing CO2 emissions, production lines, automatized production lines, logistics, and also eventually finance and insurance, right? Like the insurance sector too, with risk management, for instance. So these are very promising applications, and that's what's moving the field. But there is really so much noise out there, right? Nowadays, the quantum sector, we hear very big news. So we have big consulting companies putting the market value of this industry in the trillions in 10 years. And then this is also a sector where, depending on the opinion of tech leaders, the quantum stocks change mood from apocalyptic pessimism to deranged optimisms. We also hear lots of announcements of all kinds from quantum providers, both at the scientific level, but also at the commercial level, with an arms race between different quantum providers to see who closes the largest commercial deal, and also, of course, an arms race in terms of productions of quantum chips, right? So the question is, there's so much thing going on out there, and how do we discern what's actually real, what's really promising, and what is actually hype? And the answer is, well, there's no shortcut, there's no magical shortcut. It's, you have to really set to work and do bold R&D, research and development and innovation, right? Yeah, there's no real shortcut, right? This has to be coordinated between companies and academias and governments, but the core of the activity that we still need to do is significant R&D. And this takes me to what we do in Abu Dhabi, in the Quantum Research Center at the Technology Innovation Institute. Our mission is quite clear. We want to do application-driven R&D based on solid scientific grounds. We want to drive and enable deep tech business with scientific rigor. And the Quantum Research Center started in the middle of the first wave of COVID in 2020. I moved to Abu Dhabi in 21. In these few years, we managed to grow the center, hiring top-notch scientists. We have almost 93 team members, 86 of which are researchers and engineers of many different nationalities. We have a superb board of advisors, and we have produced quite some academic output, 158 publications in top-notch journals, both in physics, in computer science, mathematics, and engineering. We have already 18 products in development with TRLs higher than 4, and we have 5 patents in progress, right? This is something that, you have to take into account that the UAE is relatively young in terms of scientific tradition. So we're proud to say that we have achieved in a few years a level of activity that has not been seen in many countries. Let me enter into a little bit more detail how we do this, how we organize our research. We have activity on the 3 main technologies, quantum technologies. So these are computing, communications, and sensing. And we have theory and experiment activities, right? So on the top, you see quantum algorithms, quantum middleware, and quantum physics theory. These are our physics, our theory departments. And on the bottom, we have the quantum computing hardware lab, quantum communications, and quantum sensing. These are our experimental efforts, right? We have a full stack approach to quantum technology research, right? Both theory and experiment. Let me show you a little bit what we do in each of these labs. In the quantum computing hardware lab, we develop superconducting qubit chips. We have world-class infrastructure. You can see our cryostats here, which hold the QPU, the quantum processing unit. You can see pictures of our chips. These are quantum processing units that have currently 3 qubits. We're going to reach 5 qubits in the end of the year. And we have our own in-house fab facility. We have a clean room where we're able to print our own quantum chips, try new designs with different materials for optimizing and improving the qubit quality, right? And we do conceptualization, design characterization, and calibration also of QPUs. Again, having fully mastering all the steps towards quantum sovereignty and being able to achieve 5 qubits printed in Abu Dhabi is something that many European countries, although with a much stronger and longer scientific tradition, haven't yet attained, for instance, right? And this is the in-house technology that we have. This is superconducting qubits that we do, but we also have access to other platforms remotely via agreements with stakeholders, with partner companies, for instance, for trapped ion models or neutral atoms, right? Where we can develop and test quantum algorithms, for instance. And let me then tell you something about quantum algorithms. So, our quantum algorithms team is quite strong both on the development of quantum algorithms and what we call quantum-inspired algorithms. Quantum-inspired algorithms are algorithms that are able to run on classical machines like normal GPUs and CPUs, but that take ideas and techniques that have been developed within quantum computation theory. This is not a minor thing because, like I was saying yesterday in the opening of the quantum track session, quantum computers will not be standalone machines that will solve entire problems on themselves. They will rather work as quantum hardware accelerators within high-performance computing architectures. So they will have to be integrated with AI, with classical hardware accelerators like GPUs, and then also a hybrid of algorithms between quantum and classical, right? So there's a continuous spectrum of things where you can apply quantum or really just quantum-inspired algorithms. We study applications in computational fluid dynamics. We have, for instance, an interesting collaboration for understanding fluids and neutron flow in nuclear reactors with the Emirates National Energy Company. We have very strong team on protein design and molecular dynamics. We do things on traffic forecasts and optimizations. We also have a strong team to understand how to characterize quantum processing units. These devices are not really to characterize, and you need to characterize the errors there because you want to do quantum error correction and mitigation, right? So we also have activity there. Like I said, we attack the full stack range of problems. Now, you might wonder, okay, you have this high abstraction level of quantum algorithms, and then you have the radio frequency pulses that control the quantum chips. And in between, you have many components, right, from control electronics and lots of software. So all that software that sits in the middle is what we call quantum middleware. And it's not a minor thing. Our main product there is Kibo. That's an open source middleware for quantum computing. It's an entire framework, a software framework for doing programming, for programming quantum computers, but also for calibrating, simulating, and controlling quantum chips. I invite you to see the website, kibo.science. Let me move now to quantum communications, right? So this is our photonics lab. There, the goal is to connect, the long-term goal is to connect quantum devices and to develop quantum-safe encryption schemes. One of the main things that we do is quantum key distribution, and also we have perfect quantum random number generators. We produce entanglement-based quantum key distribution systems. These are very advanced. We have, we demonstrate quantum non-locality on a daily basis, and these were the first demonstrations in the Arab world of entanglement and quantum non-locality. This is very advanced. In fact, we are in partnership with IAN and our commercialization branch, which is Venture One, for really deploying QKD fibers in the UAE and moving towards commercialization. This is all QKD with telecom fibers, but we also study satellite-to-ground quantum communication. You have to imagine that, quantum key distribution schemes, they can work via telecom fibers, but if the distances are too long, you can do repeaters a little bit, but at some point you need some assistance by satellite to ground. And this is what we're studying. In fact, we have the Abu Dhabi Quantum Optical Ground Station. That's in the Al Wathba Desert, 45 minutes drive from Abu Dhabi downtown, where we have a first of its kind high-performance telescope. And this is going to be a collaborative approach because it's going to be compatible with most missions planned, with most satellite mission plans for quantum. This is really something of which we're very proud. Of course, you can see names here as the UAE Space Agency, the Quantum Internet Alliance. We have many partner stakeholders here. Finally, let me walk you through the activities of the quantum sensing lab and the quantum physics theory. So we develop accelerometers for navigation and positioning, magnetometers, again, for GPS navigation and magnetic exploration, also with relevance in medical imaging and material characterization. For instance, we have projects with the Abu Dhabi National Oil Company where we want to study ultra-sensitive magnetic sensors to monitor the lifetime of batteries or to monitor carbon storage, underground carbon storage reservoirs, for instance, which can be monitored remarkably by magnetic field sensing. Also, we have the quantum physics theory group is very strong. This is something that we need. As I said, quantum is interesting both for business now, but also there's lots of research to be done. So we need a strong theory support, not only for improving and modeling our superconducting qubits, but also to think of new quantum simulations, atomtronic schemes, and even quantum sensing physics, right? So this is a very, very strong team in Abu Dhabi. And let me then finish. Actually, I want to spend some time in this slide with some take-home messages. The second quantum technology revolution is just unfolding. This will disrupt information processing technologies, cybersecurity, and high-precision measurements, which will have lots of impact in different industries, right? And we need coordination between governments, industry, and academia, right? We still need lots of R&D. And in fact, people ask, okay, the big question, the trillion-dollar question is, what is going to be the killer application of quantum computing? And the reality is that we really need to understand that, and the best way to understand that is to build these machines. We need to build quantum computers to actually be able to figure out what the main application will be, right? My PhD supervisor used to tell me that when people would ask him, what is quantum useful for? He would answer, well, that's similar to asking a baby that's just been born what it's going to be useful for, right? You need to let it grow. You need to play with it to understand where it's going to go. And we need more investment also in quantum algorithms. The truth is that we have a few flagship algorithms, if you want to, where we're very confident that we will have exponential quantum runtime speedups. But these are very few. In fact, these are too few. If you give us today, even if you give us today a fault-tolerant large-scale quantum computer, like I said, we don't have too many algorithms where we're sure and confident that we'll have exponential runtime speedups. So, it's not surprising that most of the investments have gone into quantum hardware because it's really challenging to develop quantum hardware, and there are different competing platforms. It's not even clear who's going to be the winner. But we do need to put focus on quantum algorithms research. This is actually very important. So, as for communications, something important to take in mind is that to keep in mind is that the migration to quantum safe schemes, quantum safe encryption schemes. So these are, apart from quantum key distribution, there's something that we also develop in TII in collaboration with the Cryptography Research Center, where we do post-quantum cryptography. These are classical algorithms. This is not based on the laws of physics. This is a different type of quantum safe encryption scheme. And we're working towards migrating to this type of quantum safe schemes. In the beginning, most probably, the migration will be to post-quantum crypto, and then later on, eventually, to full-fledged quantum key distribution schemes, or maybe even a hybrid and combination between both, which is something that we also tackle in TII. But the migration needs to start today, because hackers or adversaries might be storing encrypted information transmitted. They will not be able to decrypt it now, but maybe in 10 years, when quantum computers are mature enough, then they will be able to decrypt it. And you want you want data to be protected for more than 1 or 2 decades sometimes, depending on the priority of secrecy, right? So the migration really needs to start today. We need a collaborative approach. Fragmentation, ideally, is not something that you really want. Duplication of efforts, this is something that we're seeing a lot. Different countries, different competing sectors. And yeah, exportation bans is also a big risk. This is something that has to be discussed in this type of meetings. It's very important to try to be as collaborative as possible, because the challenge is great, it's huge, and this has to be attacked in a coordinated way. As for the UAE, this is a forerunner in the Arab world, I would say, because really what we want to do there is not just to adopt and buy technology, we really want to develop in the country new technology. And this is within a strategic vision of the UAE in the next few decades to transition from a commodity-based economy to actual knowledge-based economy, right? So we're one of the main drivers in the, we're proud to be one of the big drivers in the UAE for this transition, right? Finally, we need to filter out hype from reality, right? And like I said, there's no shortcut for that. You really need to do bold research and innovation. As last slide, Gillian asked me to, I think this is another version of the slide. So I was also, because I'm the last speaker, I was also asked to give a couple of announcements. So the first announcement is that the Quantum Track will continue in 2026 in the AI for Good event. So this is not going to be the last one that we'll have a Quantum Track here. Also, there was another announcement about a QKD system being deployed between two different cities here in Geneva, stations in Geneva, by ITU and UNCC, I think. But I think I don't have the slides, so I just say it orally. I hope I remember the acronyms correctly. Thank you very much for your attention. It's been a pleasure.